Hello, good evening. Very busy day. Thank you for waiting. Who said it? I'm down for a late show. Keith. Hey, Keith. Hello. Thank you for joining me yesterday. Not that kind of late show, but still actual news. Nobody's going to do any performances, but certainly. What a busy day. What a busy day. Brandon, you're down too. Okay, three of us. 24 joining. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. If you can't watch now, just mark it in some way and watch me in the morning or whatever. Whenever it's time. Oh, it's 7 p.m. in Arizona. Okay, I got you. Yeah, that's see? Today's thing is what is it? West Coast vibe. Today's the West Coast vibe. Um, Good news, a lot of great news. I just cut up clips from Liz Cheney. Listen, before we're waiting for people to join, I think today is the day when Kamala Harris won the election. I can't listen. That was powerful. If you haven't watched the Liz Cheney speech, if you don't really know what Liz Cheney represents to Republicans, to actual Republicans, if you haven't watched Kamala Harris's speech with Liz Cheney in the backdrop, that's historic. Listen, that's historic. Mr. Me, hey, this is my backup account. Oh, hi, hello. Hey, Daniel. What happened to you? What happened? Why did they block you? West Coast vibe. Yeah, today's the West Coast vibe. Cruising. Okay. Some readouts, some good, some fun, some whatnot. How did you like receiving newsletter earlier? Based on the statistics, 100% of people opened them by 5 p.m. already. So I guess that was the right statistic. So I think I'm going to send it out earlier because usually I just wait till the very last bit of the day to put everything in it. And from what I understand, it's a bit overwhelming. It's a lot of stuff in one newsletter. So let's make them more concise. Let's send them by 5 p.m. Eastern. So you have your news by the end of the workday. And then, you have this live stream if anything else happens by then. Oh my God, that sounds so much like today was the day Trump became presidential. Um, no. Actually, reverse. I haven't even looked at it. Yeah. So I have the clips. I have the clips here for you. I tweeted that I hope Trump falls over when he dances. I didn't. Ah, oh, that's what got you blocked. I tweeted that I hope Trump falls over when he dances. I didn't say I would push him. And that's what got you blocked on Twitter. Wow. Okay, now let's start with actual news. So I have a readout if you haven't read the newsletter. I really want to read this out because Dark Brandon showed up and showed off today. And by the way, I wish he spoke to press like this initially because we wouldn't have been here not to judge whether it's good bad that Kamala Harris is the leader now. Certainly we all love this, but I love how Biden speaks to press when he doesn't runs out of F's to give, so to speak. So here he was departing Joint Base Andrews. He flew today to Georgia, and he toured Georgia and delivered a speech and remarks, and I have the readout. But before departing, he went to Florida and then Georgia. So here's some questions from the press. And just listen how he answered. So first was, Mr. President, can the country afford the port strike? Can the country afford these ships to stay off? And by the way, they settled, so I have a readout afterwards. I think we're making progress on that. So certainly he knew that it will be all over in a few hours. How much progress? We'll find out soon. What kind of sanctions are you considering on Iran? What kind of sanctions? Biden goes, I'll tell them before I tell you. And by the way, who are these reporters? Do you really think that you, me, all of us are this important that Trump, God forbid, that Biden will break the news by announcing the sanctions for Iran to you, honey bunny, to you, who's standing at the tarmac at Joint Base Andrews with your phone stretched out, screaming at him? You think he woke up and said, I want to decide that Joe Schmo will get the breaking news today? Do you really think that? What's happening here? What are those questions? Then, did Tim Walz lose the debate? Now, how did you come up with this? He goes, Biden, quote, no, he didn't. And by the way, the other guy lost the debate. He misrepresented everything, including, oh, well, anyway. Then, sir, the hostages in Gaza, sir. The hostages in Gaza. Do you have any updates on them? President goes, no, not right now. Would you support Israel striking Iran's oil facilities? Now, that's another Joe Schmo number 2. Thought that I'm going to just break the news with Biden. He said, we're in discussion of that. I think that would be a little, anyway. So we almost got Biden to reveal the news. And then, do you believe that Donald Trump was acting as a private candidate and not as a president when he sought to overturn the 2020 election, as Jack Smith laid out in his filing? Biden said, I let Jack Smith make that case. Will you let Israel retaliate? What are the plans? Biden goes, first of all, we don't allow Israel. We advise Israel. And by the way, it's a huge difference. Huge in terms of diplomatic phrasing. He goes, and there's nothing going to happen today. We'll talk about that later. G20 and APEC summits next month. Is it a good chance to sit down with President Putin to discuss international security? Biden goes, I'm sorry. And they thought he didn't hear, so they did repeat it. And then he said, I doubt whether Putin will show up. Well, certainly not, because there's an ICC, International Court Order, to detain him. Do you think he's just traveling everywhere? Dude is sitting in a bunker, and excuse my French, and shitting in a case, right? There's a guy walking with a suitcase where Putin poops into, because he is so afraid that somebody will take his poop and analyze it. You think this guy is just traveling everywhere, meeting people, discussing what? Democracy? What? He doesn't know this word. Are you surprised the race between Harris and Trump is so close right now? Are you surprised? Biden goes, no, I'm not. It always gets this close. She's going to do fine. Curtains. Now, please tell me, how do you have a chance to speak to the president? You just come up with the questions just out of the blue? Like, oh, I just deserve to blab or something? JT Savoy, hey, hello, good evening. I appreciate the honest news as always. Oh, thank you. And I appreciate you watching and commenting. Very, very much so. Thank you. Biden is so good at this. Exactly. The Dark Brandon is good in this train of thought. How come they didn't ask what he had for breakfast? Right. Probably they already wrote about it and made it up. He says, anyway, a lot of people think it's a lost train of thought, but it seems more like a way to restrain himself. Yeah. I mean, if you cover Biden enough, he has tricks. So when he doesn't want to answer a question, he goes, blah, 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 blah. It's not like he forgets how to speak. He just wants to escape. Same as with Trump. He would answer questions next to the helicopter. And if he didn't like the question, he would say, I can't hear it. So that was his trick. Dark Brandon. Yes, Dark Brandon. Dark Brandon sounds extremely close these days as a cursing press. I think that might happen soon, honestly. I'm kind of like awaiting this. Yeah, so we have that covered. Then he certainly flew to Florida. And he toured Hurricane Helene's devastated areas in Florida. So I have some pictures here to show you. Here we go. So, for instance, he assessed the damage caused by Hurricane Helene. His aerial tour provided a striking view of coastal destruction, including flooded areas and parts of Gulf of Mexico. The trip lasted about 45 minutes, concluding in Perry, Florida. Upon arrival, President Biden received a briefing from FEMA. That's what you're seeing here and here. Alongside local officials, including Senator Rick Scott, FEMA Deputy Administrator Eric Hooks, who traveled, by the way, with him from D.C., and Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack. The briefing featured 2 poster boards, one displaying photos of FEMA relief efforts and the other of a map illustrating Hurricane Helene's impact. So then he visited During his visit to Keaton Beach neighborhood, Biden met with residents who had lost their homes in the storm. One couple, currently living out of their RV, expressed gratitude to the president. This can all be rebuilt, the man reassured Biden, thanking him for coming to their aid. So Biden also interacted with local officials, emergency responders, and members of the Palm Beach County incident management team. While the noise from motorcade made it difficult for press pool to capture any remarks, his presence brought reassurance to storm-impacted communities. Now, White House Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre confirmed that, both Governor Kemp of Georgia and Governor DeSantis, Boots, of Florida, certainly were invited to join him, and both declined the offer. I posted, I'm not going to show you, but I posted that tomorrow, Trump, who they call president, and certainly he isn't the president, he's former president, will be coming to Georgia and holding a press conference with Kemp together. If you ask me, I guesstimate Kemp to be heavily assaulted and, be used as a punch bag, so to speak, for Trump. And he will just stand there and pretend he doesn't hear. Weird. The White House emphasized that the visit underscores the administration's ongoing commitment to providing relief and support to areas hardest hit by Hurricane Helene. Also, what happens with the budget? So Biden, as I covered yesterday, as you have heard probably by now, he said that he's overtaking the cost to clearing the debris and rebuilding for North Carolina for 100% for the upcoming 6 months. 3 months Georgia, 3 months Florida. And so by that time, Secretary Mayorkas, he said, well, FEMA might run out of money because if we have another hurricane as such, we don't have the budget for it. So for that reason, Biden has spoken to Congress and has called them to pass more money or pass, a law or whatever policy to give more money to allocate more money to FEMA. To which now Johnson and company say, oh, we don't want to give more money to Biden. He's going to win. He's going to buy votes. So what? You're going to let people starve and die, right? Possibly if there is another storm in your, by the way, red states, just because you choose politics above everything. Take example from what Liz Cheney did today. But let's talk about the agreement. So President Biden issued a statement today that ILA and USMX certainly agreed upon some terms. So he says, quote, I want to applaud the International Longshoremen Association and the United States Maritime Alliance for coming together to reopen the East Coast and Gulf ports. Today's tentative agreements on a record wage and an extension of the collective bargaining process represents critical progress towards a strong contract. I congratulate the dock workers from the ILA who deserve a strong contract after sacrificing so much to keep our ports open during the pandemic. And I applaud the port operators and carriers who are members of the U.S. Maritime Alliance for working hard and putting a strong offer on the table. I want to thank the union workers, the carriers, and the port operators for acting patriotically to reopen our ports and ensure the availability of critical supplies for Hurricane Helene recovery and rebuilding. Collective bargaining works, and it is critical to rebuild a stronger economy from the middle out and the bottom up. Certainly, he also revealed yesterday, as recent as yesterday, that the profits went up 800% for these companies, right, that operate ports. And those companies are mainly international companies. Now, also what has been revealed, the head of this ILA, right, the union, he's a Trumper, right? And so he posted a bunch of pictures, let's pray for Trump, God gave us Trump, and all that kind of nonsense. He also has a very expensive house and a Bentley and all that kind of stuff. So that was revealed this morning, which certainly, I guess, helped to get this. Now, certainly it's not the final agreement. I guess they will be renegotiating around January. Now, who didn't like any of it? which just shows us that who didn't want the strike to end is certainly MAGA. MAGA was all into, I would even guesstimate. I wasn't in the room, so allegedly, right? Guesstimating that maybe Trump suggested the strike or certainly did not prevent it, right? So, who really hated this entire development about ports reaching an agreement is Fox News. Take a look.
Well, the longshoreman strike may be temporarily suspended until mid-January, and although Kamala Harris, of course, breathing a sigh of relief tonight, American voters shouldn't. We should never have been here in the first place, and the Biden
Well, everything disconnected. I guess, Anyway, I'm back. Sorry. Um, I don't know whether the system does like Fox News or maybe, it's just bad internet. But my apologies. I'm back. Ta-da. So Fox News said, we don't want anybody to be relaxed because certainly if Kamala Harris wins, that will be on her clock and she will have to renegotiate and all that kind of nonsense. But to put it this way, it became so easy to see through all of it, right? Whether it comes to DeSantis storming to Trump Tower yesterday, and sort of asking for forgiveness, I guess, for accepting money because Florida needs money to save people and now rebuild since the storm. Whether it is, sort of lurking or like trying to get Zelensky to speak to Trump in the Trump Tower, whether it's Netanyahu meeting Trump, whether it is the head of the union posting stuff in favor of Trump, it became so easy to read through this mess. And so, certainly, when somebody in such a cheap way, right, not even well played political or diplomatic way tries to gain advantage, but in a very cheap and open way tries to manipulate the election, right, by making some folks strike, by not allocating money to FEMA to save people in possibly upcoming hurricane because we're just starting the season or we're in the midst of it, or trying to influence Zelensky in some way, or trying to influence the war in the Middle East in some type of way. How can you possibly then be undecided at this point? Right? That is my question. Because okay, if you were undecided half a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, but how can you be at this point undecided? So either you are sick of democracy, you would like to experience what dictatorship looks like, right? How does it feel like? How does a boot taste, if you know what I mean? And you're just up for this journey, and traveling to Moscow or China or North Korea is really not in your plans. You want to have that here. You want to have that delivered. Then certainly, yeah, this is your choice. Do it. But then Google how people actually live who tasted that boot. Google how difficult would that be to learn Russian. It's a very difficult language. Has so many different tricks. One word has meanings, a lot of meanings. How difficult would that be to learn Chinese? Because certainly, if you cast your vote here, those are the languages we certainly will have to start learning. My advantage would be I know Russian. So, I guess I'm already halfway there. But if you love democracy, if you love the way America works, maybe you don't love Kamala Harris because whatever, maybe you don't like her hair or her voice or her laugh. All of this nonsense that people are bringing up as sort of counterpoint, all of that means absolutely nothing. If you like living in a democracy, if you like deciding for yourself how you want to live, where you want to live, how much you want to work, how much you want to earn, when do you want to have children, if you want to have children, whether your children should be deciding upon their bodies and their choices. If you like all of that, if you like not giving up to dictators and starting wars and sending your sons or your fathers or your brothers, your cousins to war, if you don't like any of that, you have one choice. It's very simple. I wish I could be, I say it all the time, I wish I could be impartial. I wish I could say, look, this is this pro-abortion, this is anti, right? What we used to talk about if it's Republicans versus Democrats, right? Certainly there are differences that will never probably be agreeable, but what we can agree on is that we want this republic, right? A democratic United States of America be united, right? And we want it to exist beyond January 20th. We want to be a part of NATO alliance because we do understand with our human brain, not chicken brain, that NATO is an advantage for us too. We understand what Article 5 stands for. Aggression against one member is aggression against all members. We do understand that China is a potential threat in Indo-Pacific, and we need friends there. We do understand that we need friends in Europe as well. We do understand that if you give somebody who wants to invade a country, right, somebody who's very, very hungry, right, hungry for power, hungry for more land, even though this country is the biggest country, right? Talking about Putin. If you give him Ukraine, he's not going to be satisfied. It's like if somebody steals your family member and asks for money, do you think you give them money and that's it? The price will go up. And that's why this will only begin the war in Europe, which will become, if you want to be, scared about World War, that's a real, possibility to start that. If you give up Ukraine, you give Putin what? Not just the land that is Ukraine. You give them the people that are by now well trained as soldiers, well trained as fighters, that have now the equipment that, yes, we send our old equipment and we replenish with a new one. But they do have the equipment. They know how to use it. They produce their own equipment now. So giving up Ukraine to Russia is strengthening Russia. And then they will invade other countries. And other countries means NATO countries. And then we're full body karate in this war. And whether you want to call it World War III or World War whatever, that's what will be our future. And having somebody who will sell anything, anybody, anything, their own wife and whatever, just for an okie doke to build a Trump Tower in Moscow or some other, wonderful city in his mind, that is very scary. This is not what this is supposed to be here. This is not what this, Statue of Liberty stands for. Definitely not. So don't screw the life, not just for you, but for those who come after you, right? If you use a hotel, right, you use it, but you don't want to destroy the whole thing so the next guest can use it at all and has to rebuild it. Don't screw it for those who come after us. So, a little rant, unexpected. I know Kamala is doing a 60-minute interview sometime. I think next Monday. That's when she's doing. And we're going to have a watch party. Hmm. Maybe that's Monday. Monday, Chris. I agree 100%. Thank you, and thank you for joining yesterday. I'm so happy we did that stuff yesterday. Our panel was so fun. I rewatched it. Thank you so much for joining. This was so good. Knowledgeable and clear about the stakes. Haven't seen her sit with someone like that yet. Keith, about Kamala Harris in 60 Minutes. Yeah, Trump is cheap. Yeah, October 7th. That's Monday. Yeah. And it's interesting that October 7th is, of course, the anniversary, right? The bad anniversary in Israel. So it's very interesting how that will play out. And we're going to have a watch party. I have been invited to attend an event with IDF soldiers and victims of October 7th attack. And certainly I'm concerned. I'm concerned because I don't think, I hope, but I have weird thoughts that, it might be an event that would be targeted by maybe protesters or whatever. So I'd rather have a watch party with all of us, and cover the event from a distance. But it's a very good event. So I hope everything goes really well there. So let's talk about Harris campaign, and then we're going to talk about Liz Cheney, and we have wonderful clips. So today, Vice President Kamala Harris, of course, campaigned alongside Liz Cheney in Wisconsin, the exact birthplace of the Republican Party, as an increasing number of Republicans rally behind Harris-Walz campaign. So while Donald Trump is what per Harris campaign says continues to sow division among Americans, Harris is promoting a new way forward for voters who value democracy, bipartisan cooperation, and strong international alliances. So some of the readouts about this other states, where do I have that? Yes, so here, before we dive into Wisconsin. And by the way, aside from this rally, aside from this event, 24 local GOP leaders in Wisconsin launched Wisconsin Republicans for Harris-Walz during Harris's visit. So this has been launched today, which seems to be sort of a topic, right? Or the common thread among other. So Pennsylvania, former Congressman Jim Greenwood held a press conference with local GOP leaders in Wilkes-Barre, following a rally that attracted over 100 voters in Lancaster last week. In Georgia, former Lieutenant Governor Duncan is set to launch Georgia Republicans for Harris-Walz with a kickoff event in Atlanta, which should be a really big event, heavily advertised. In Arizona, Stephanie Grisham and Jennifer Garner, if you like Jennifer Garner, will lead a Democracy Across the Aisle fireside chat, coinciding with former Senator Flake's endorsement of Harris. Then in Michigan, former Congressman David Trott and others launched Michigan Republicans for Harris-Walz during a virtual press call. In North Carolina, former state officials and local leaders are campaigning for the ticket in Greensboro. In Nevada, former Congressman Adam Kirzinger will join the campaign's efforts this Friday. That will be interesting to cover. Then in New Hampshire, a coalition of current and former Republicans has formed to support Harris-Walz. In Nebraska, finally, notable Republican leaders, including former Senator Hagel, endorsed the Harris-Walz campaign. So since launching the Republicans for Harris-Walz coalition in August, this campaign has made significant strides in reaching out to critical voters, particularly those who opposed Trump during the primaries. And so, of course, this effort, as we discussed before, has attracted endorsements from over 120 Arizona Republicans, many former GOP leaders, and national security experts, reflecting a growing bipartisan support for the campaign. So, for that reason, I think this is very smart. I think this Harris-Walz campaign will be studied, if anything, for this factor. Reaching across the aisle, really stepping on the identity, right? If somebody identifies as a Republican, as an independent, as a Democrat, it's more about values rather than identities. And that's what Liz Cheney really underscored. So let's review some clips from this rally and this announcement. So certainly, Liz Cheney addressed a crowd of several hundred, including students and townspeople at this rally. Reflecting on her Wisconsin roots, she noted her early Republican values and her support for limited government and a strong national defense. And now, this phrase, this 21-second video, that's what Trump will never forget. I bet.
House leadership. So, in other words, I was a Republican even before Donald Trump started spray tanning.
And that's a long time ago, because look how orange he is. I don't think you can wash him. She also said Vice President Harris is standing in the breach at a critical moment in our nation's history. She's working to unite reasonable people from all across the political spectrum. Reasonable people. I know common sense is not that common. I know it's a very limited commodity, but reasonable people. So whenever you go to vote, whether it's now, you're sending your ballots, you go on November 5th, whatever, have your reasons. Just know your reasons, okay? Don't do it for the okie doke. Don't do it because you watched Apprentice 100 years ago. I watched Apprentice too. I don't really I watched it for other people, not Trump exactly, but this, you're fired. If you loved it, okay, good. That was 100 years ago. You might have also loved Kardashians and Desperate Housewives or whatever, You wouldn't be certainly voting for such folks for presidents just because you watched them 10 years ago on, a channel while eating chips. So, a really cool video where she talked about the values that Kamala Harris represents and also mentioned about inspiring other generations, particularly girls. Take a look.
I know that President Harris will be able to unite this nation. I know that she will be a president who will defend the rule of law. And I know that she will be a president who can inspire all of our children, and if I might say so, especially our little girls. To do great things. So help us right the ship of our democracy so that history will say of us, when our time of testing came, we did our duty and we prevailed because we loved our country more.
It's really interesting. I have a photo of me at the White House, literally same shirt and same blazer, same colors. Okay, we're aligned. Alrighty, so then she announced that she is obviously a Republican and she will be casting her vote for Harris. Now, this is history in the making.
I tell you, I have never voted for a Democrat, but this year I am proudly casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris. Thank you. But mostly we're not going back.
Listen, that is history. If you've ever studied political science or you followed politics for a long time, this is it's big. This is big. Her endorsing Harris, and now I'm going to show you clips of her standing behind Harris. This is just so Harris then spoke. She started by praising Liz Cheney, who stood, as I mentioned, off to her side. She also thanked Cheney's father, Dick Cheney, VP Dick Cheney, who has also endorsed Harris, by the way. We mentioned that. They are flanked by large glass panels. We saw it. We are surrounded, that's what Poole writes, we're surrounded by tall buildings and security personnel are visible on rooftops. Well, thank you. Thank you. Then Harris said, we may not see eye to eye on every issue. She referred to Liz Cheney, and we're going to get back to a healthy two-party system. But we both love our country and democratic ideals. And I truly believe, look, I'm a European born, but I truly believe that what makes America great, not America great again, we are great, is this two-party system. I'm not a fan of saying, well, we just have to be this or we just have to be that. In Europe, it's different. There's a parliament, there are several parties. It's certainly not our Congress, Senate, House of Representatives, not that type of thing. But and then we have the Fed, and it's very different, right? So in Europe, you do have this parliament more, being more decisive than perhaps even the president, right? So the ruling party is constantly fact checked on everybody, right? So they have to have an agreement. Now, here, the two-party system is what keeps us afloat and balanced. It's like, imagine, you have parents, right? And one is always saying yes to everything, and another one, keeps you tells you certain things that you probably don't want to hear. And that's a healthy scenario. Imagine if you have parents who always say yes to everything or no to everything. Then the kid is not growing up being healthy in terms of the mindset, in terms of also learning how the world works. So I think this is what makes us stronger if we do have two parties who are very certain about their values and who share a common value that we want to protect the democracy and we want to grow together as a nation, and we are United States of America. So certainly I'm really applauding this notion. And so Harris spoke about upholding the Constitution, and that's what you're not going to find with Trump and Vance. So take a look.
And I have sworn an oath to uphold the Constitution 6 times in my career, including as Vice President, as a United States Senator, and as the top law enforcement officer of the largest state in our country. Responsible for upholding and enforcing the laws of the state and the laws of the United States was the work I did. And I have never wavered in upholding that oath. And I have always executed it faithfully and without reservation. And therein lies the profound difference between Donald Trump and me. He who violated the oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. And make no mistake, he who, if given the chance, would violate it again. Donald Trump lost the 2020 election.
I want to address this, Keith, but don't you think that the party system has often, especially recently, led to a paralyzed legislative agenda? I think we can relate that to the MAGA cult. Because think about it. If it wasn't Trump who called onto Republican Party to stop negotiating on the border deal, or if it was the party that would have not listened to Trump when he called, we would have not solved, but we would have progressed possibly on the border issue, right? But because they listened to one individual. Now think about what Pence did. If Pence was not Pence, was Vance, right? One letter difference, not two letter difference. But if he would have listened to Trump, right, as a cult member, not to certify the election results in 2020, imagine where we would have been now, right? Or even on January 6th, that would have been way worse. Now, imagine if what Pence did. Pence acted, having being clear about the values of protecting, right, in the importance of protecting the Constitution. And so he did that. And so he didn't listen to Trump. So I think, to your point, yes, it has paralyzed a lot of things, right? If you think about even the loan forgiveness, even the entire Supreme Court justices, right, who approved them and didn't approve them before, approved them now. That's how, right, Obama got pretty much shortcut with this, and then how Trump appointed a bunch of them. That is a valid point. But I think if you take the cult membership out of this idea and you really bring if we can agree that we have common values and those values prevail any party affiliation, then I think we will be on a better footing. But certainly good point. I agree. Mitch McConnell froze out Obama in second term. That was before Trump. And that's, listen, think about, when did Trump start? Trump didn't start when he won the election. Remember the whole birth certificate situation. That's when Trump started. Remember when Obama was at the White House Correspondents Association dinner and he was laughing at Trump and Trump sat there. But we already spoke about him. That's when his influence already started. It didn't start in 2016. It started earlier. He was implanted by certain, players into the game way early. If Trump never came down the golden escalator, we probably would have never had MAGA. Or, Vance will now overtake him. That's the most dangerous thing. Joe got loan forgiveness back in the pocket. Yeah, I saw it. So thankfully, the judge decided in his favor. Two-party system is not perfect by any means, but if you consider MAGA is not a real party, I think we will see much less paralyzing governing, Chris. I agree with you, Chris. I think, certainly something has to balance, right? If you allow somebody to win and just be unchecked, then every 4 years, you're going to end up in a very different scenario. So the country will start shifting right, left, and center. And that's certainly what could be if Trump comes to power and then delivers on his promise that we're going to fix it so good you don't have to vote anymore. So imagine where we would be. I just spoke tonight with somebody who's very convinced that Vance was so effective and Vance should be president and Tim Walz should be his vice president. And they were so agreeable and he's so represented. And I spent, a certain amount of time talking through this and said, listen, if you imagine Vance, who is young, right, who follows orders, who certainly overtakes the MAGA movement and then delivers on Project 2025, and then decides that in an official way, right, he will declare that certain elections should be postponed because the country is in some unstable condition, blah, 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 and then makes it as an official decision, right, declares that decision. And since the immunity, Supreme Court is not going to do anything, then we might as well end up with a president who will never leave. That is all on the table. And it's not conspiracy theory. It's just really evaluating your options. And this guy is not going to be certified as a crazy cuckoo because he is young and he follows the orders. He tells you what you want to hear. That's sort of the problem. Long got blocked again by Missouri tonight. Oh, okay. Let's read on that. And then, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Russia, I remember growing up in Europe and when the European Union started in 2001 and I was in Germany and we used to have, it was really interesting. It was overnight, right? We used to have Deutsche Mark, right? That was the currency. And let's say you had 100 Deutsche Mark, right? And then overnight we switched to euros. And euro switched to 1-to-1, right? And so, but then euro was twice as expensive, right? So €1 would cost 2 Deutsche Marks. And so by the next morning, we actually had half of the money we went to bed with. So that was really overnight. And so the pricing was 1 to 1. So let's say something cost 1 Deutsche Mark, the next morning it was €1. So right, all the prices went like twice. Everything became twice as expensive, and we had half the money that we went to bed with. This was, I will never forget that. This was just an incredible moment. And that's where I kind of thought that's where European Union might end, but it didn't. And then we had so many clips, and why I'm bringing this up to Chris's point, that we had so many clips where I can upload it, where they had like this compared countries, right? Where the president comes in, is elected, right? Serves the term, leaves. Another one comes in, and then Italy with Berlusconi, somebody comes in and just put all the roots and never leaves, right? And that was the joke, a running joke within European Union. So it does happen. Right, it does happen in Italy. It does happen in China. It does happen in North Korea. Certainly, North Korea and China, it's different, right? As much as, let's say, in Netherlands, they exchange prime ministers, but then the royalty stays in power, same as in the UK. But then, the question is, how much decisive power do they have? So, yeah, I mean, if somebody comes in and never leaves, that is the problem. Vance is not president ready. He's strong on interviews, but he sucks at rallies and voter outreach. That's why he got less votes than any Republican on the ticket in Ohio. Exactly, but he is also rebranded. He's rebranded into MAGAville. And you saw today on Twitter bunch of those posts, which I think is fake, where a mother suddenly says, oh, my daughter went to a party and all the girls were discussing how sexy Vance is, and he's so sexy, and look at him, and he's beautiful, and he's that. He said, did you watch what I watched? I don't know. But, or like, oh, he won over the gays, right? So all of that is already planted. He's rebranded, and this is the public opinion that would make somebody think that this is the reality. So I certainly see a PR campaign here. Okay, Walz was good. Walz was good. Okay, continuing. I want to play 2 clips about Ukraine because I know people from Ukraine watch me, and I want you to see it. Because I do see certain politicians and podcasters, analysts, reporters talking about Trump being the solution for Ukraine, and how Kamala Harris, the cackling Kamala, I don't know whether you see this cackling Kamala, I don't see it, that she would fail on Ukraine. Here's 2 clips personally for you, because I know you don't watch our rallies. You read our news, you translate it and take it as, at face value. But you need to learn that our news have a lot of editorial power in it. So, and editorial influence in it. So I really recommend you to subscribe for statements and actual factual news, or the newsletter. So here's Harris on Ukraine.
Last week, I met with Ukraine's President Zelensky. And the message I delivered was the same message I've shared with him every time I've seen him. I stand with Ukraine, and I always will. And I told him, as I have before, I want Ukraine to prevail. By contrast, in our debate, Donald Trump couldn't even bring himself to say he wanted Ukraine to win the war. Couldn't even bring himself to say that.
And here's another one.
Trump wants to force Ukraine to give up its sovereign territory, a bedrock principle upon which we stand and fight for. And you know who else wants them to give up their sovereign? Absolutely, territory? Putin. Putin. And that's not a plan for peace. It's a plan for surrender. Well, I believe that in the global struggle between tyranny and democracy, the President of the United States must always be on the side of freedom.
I was thinking, you know how MAGA and the Project 2025 wants women to clean the house, stay in the house. So this women here, they're going to clean the house, if you know what I mean. So also in an interview with MSNBC, our favorite, Lawrence O'Donnell, Republican former Trump White House staffer Cassidy Hutchinson endorsed Kamala Harris. She says, quote, "I'm really, really proud as a conservative to have the opportunity to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in this election. Policy is important. It's very important to me, and there may be few issues that Kamala Harris and I would see eye to eye on. I hope that we would be able to come to consensus on a lot more issues, but in saying that, the character of our leaders really matters too. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance cannot be trusted with the Constitution." Make it bold. On Twitter, some things are bold now for some reason. Make it bold and caps, all caps. "They cannot be trusted to uphold our rule of law, and they cannot be trusted to enact responsible policy. That in and of itself is disqualifying." Make that bold too. You know, for the seats in the back, in the front, in the middle, whatever seat you got, start realizing what's at stake. This is not funny now. This is not the entertainment hour. No, this is reality. And we have only, 33 days to go. 33, 32 already? 33. Crunch time. Okay? So, now Harris' campaign also targets Republicans in their new ad. So today they launched a new set of ads aimed at Republicans and independents featuring Matt McCaffrey, a lifelong Pennsylvania Republican and former Trump supporter who explains why he won't be voting for Donald Trump. Let's take a look.
I believe in small government, low taxes, and stay out of my life. I am a Republican. I voted for Donald Trump and I went to his inauguration in 2016. We tried it for 4 years. It just didn't work. All these billionaires are coming out of the woodwork to support Trump. Well, no they want their tax breaks on the backs of the middle class. What I'm looking for in a president is people like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I think she's going to do a great job for people like me.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Now, there's a Trump ad that I want to show you. I'm not sure I can stomach all of it because it's like 2 minutes, 45 seconds. Let's watch like 20 seconds of it because you'll get the point right away. He retweeted it many times today, retruthed on his Truth Social platform. And it comes with a warning. So if you just recently ate and you're not really up to throwing up, mute it, right? Then just watch it. But if you're okay, if your digestive system can stomach it, maybe lay down, turn down the volume a little bit. This is an ad that went viral today all over and has been pushed all over. It talks about how God created Trump and gave us Trump. So 20 seconds of it.
And on June 14th, 1946, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, I need a caretaker. So God gave us Trump. God said, I need somebody willing to get up before dawn, fix this country, work all day, fight the Marxists, eat supper, then go to the Oval Office and stay past midnight at a meeting of the heads.
Stay past midnight? I know people who are, by the way, so anyway, you got the point, right? Shit show. I know people who are actually cutting out. He loves watching how, like tigers and lions are dismantling their prey. So people had to cut out these pieces and create like a long video. So he would eat cheeseburgers in bed at the White House and watch this stuff. So this was always at 6 p.m. So him staying after midnight, Well, I guess 6 p.m. Eastern is midnight somewhere. But eat supper and then do it again. And then later they talk about how the first lady has her brunch, and he would come and leave other ladies go, let other ladies go, and then be with the first lady. And it's like, it's this whole shit show. It's just shit. Sorry, this is just shit. Ew. Yeah, exactly, Kelly. Kelly, thank you for joining us yesterday. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for being here. Chris is throwing up. Sorry. This is what nightmares are made of. Exactly. But we're gonna cleanse it up here. Actually, on Trump. You know, there's one video that pissed me off today. Because I covered the entire Hurricane Helene response in such detail. And if you read the newsletter, and I hope you do, here's the thing for newsletter. Please sign up. Please get the actual news. Please join this actual news movement if you say so. Onest.substack.com. Please join. I covered this response before the hurricane happened, during and after, with all, how to reach and what is available and what not, and whatever, and what Biden did and when did he sign the proclamations and all that kind of stuff, when he allocated money, and how FEMA acted, and how all the administration, they call it federal family, right? How they reacted, and the Small Business Administration, all this kind of stuff. So this video in particular, the Trump delivered today, pissed me off so much. I can't tell you. Watch it. It's just 12 seconds.
That's what's happening. They stole the FEMA money just like they stole it from a bank so they could give it to their illegal immigrants that they want to have vote for them this season. They're trying.
How dare you, Donnie? How dare you? How dare you? You are projecting, right? Same as you owner Putin. Does he make you lick his shoes? I don't know. I don't want to know. Maybe you could do the golden showers, and that's why we can't see those videos, because you did perform the golden showers. Because we always thought you were on the receiving end. Maybe you were performing. Anyway, I digress. Donnie, you would have stole money from FEMA. Remember what happened when you got an intern, a certain intern who is not really like his father. I'm talking about the son of RFK Jr., right? That MAHA, right, guy, Make America Healthy Again, the guy who looks the most unhealthiest version of a human. Anywho, again, digressing, he has a son who during COVID came to you because you said that FEMA will be handling COVID, right? It was the first weeks of the COVID response. And he came to Washington, D.C. to be an unpaid intern in your FEMA. And he became the whistleblower who's now hiding off the radar because you harassed him afterwards, who leaked the information how you, Donnie, you stole the money from FEMA during COVID response. So what you're doing now, you're projecting that what, Biden is doing the same? No, not everybody's like you. Some people, if put in the water, would drown, if you know what I mean. You wouldn't. Piece of work. Disgusting. He tweeted something today. Why do I need to show what he tweeted? Okay. Well, plan is a plan. Prices are too high. Consumers angry at this incompetent administration. Kamala has no idea how to bring prices down. Now, the key point here is, but I do, and it will happen fast. Now, is that a concept? I don't even think it's a concept. It's a promise. It's an empty promise. The way you promised the first wife, second wife, third wife to be faithful until death do you apart. You in promises? Not good. Not working. Not working. Tell him. I am. Thank you. 2 weeks. GoFundMe Trump did. Apparently, Ground only gave 3% to the hurricane fund. So I didn't know percentage. That's why I didn't report on it. So what Brandon means here, thank you for bringing it up. Trump started GoFundMe for Hurricane Helene, victims or those who suffered. And Brandon tells us that he took only 3%. He allocated to the actual victims, and then he kept 97. Interesting. And Biden is president. Of course, yeah, I mean, all of it is like a disaster. Now, to cleanse it up, here's Jimmy Carter in 2018 talking about Trump. So that will close our Trump segment for today.
You pray a lot. Do you pray for Donald Trump?
I pray that he'll be a good president and that he'll keep our country at peace and that he'll refrain from using nuclear weapons and that he will promote human rights. So, yeah, pray for him.
Yeah. How are the... Thank you for your prayers, first of all. Do you think your prayers are being answered so far?
Well, we used to have a pastor who would say, when you pray, God has three answers. One is yes, the other one is no, and the third one is you got to be kidding. So I'm not sure which one it is yet.
Exactly. So let's get real quick because it's late. Oh my God. So let's talk about Middle East. Summary, right? So overnight, Israel struck Russia's airbase on the coast of West Syria near Jableh. Both Syrian and Russian air defenses were active but failed to intercept the strikes. So, as I have reported on, Russia is giving Iran nuclear strategy, abilities, whatnot. In return, they get missiles, right? From Iran, delivered to Russia. Iran is also who supports Hezbollah, that launched ballistic missiles. All of those missiles are ballistic missiles onto Israel last a day ago. And so 180 of those, or 185, so up to 200. So Iran delivered new missiles and they stored them at a Russian base in Syria. So those missiles were, from what I hear, again, I wasn't at the base, thank God, but from what I understand and from what I hear, those missiles were meant for Hezbollah and for Russia to strike Ukraine. What Israel did last night is really helping everybody. It's not provoking war, it's actually killing two birds with one stone, although I really hate this notion. Don't kill birds, please. But Israel has urged residents in over 20 towns in southern Lebanon to evacuate due to ongoing ground clashes with Hezbollah. An Israeli strike in Beirut resulted in 9 deaths. This is according to today noon. So, noon time. While clashes in southern Lebanon claimed the lives of 8 Israeli soldiers, Israeli officials are contemplating their response to Iran's recent missile attacks, while President Biden advised against strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Biden plays chess, not checkers. Think about it. Why would he mention so many times that it shouldn't be nuclear, shouldn't be nuclear, shouldn't be nuclear? It could be more, what I guesstimate, now this is my opinion, what I guesstimate it to be, it could be either the nuclear sites, but the nuclear sites are very much underground. So striking it is very difficult. What Iran is working on, it's not a facility, it's a bunker, it's underground. So how effective the strike would be, it's a questionable. As opposed to, for instance, if what Ukraine tries to do, if they were to strike planes, right, that are positioned in Russia near Finnish border, near the border of Finland. If you look at the map, and I love watching troop constellations, I'm boring. So anyway, if Ukraine were to strike those planes, those are the planes used to nuke somebody, right? So they would be bringing the nuclear missiles, whatever, nuclear bombs, if you will, to strike whomever. So if they were to destroy those planes, that would be a good option, and they already did, by the way, a year or so ago with the first batch. Now, what I guesstimated to be, either it will be more of those facilities in Syria, maybe Lebanon, maybe wherever those facilities are, maybe an attack on many facilities, several facilities at once, or it's going to be the nuclear thing. I really doubt they're going to strike the oil reserves, because that will just up the pricing. They might. Again, this is just my opinion. I might be wrong. Maybe, the nuclear, it's very difficult to reach. So that's my 2 cents on it. Now in Gaza, fighting continues, and Hamas has claimed responsibility for a deadly attack in Tel Aviv that left 7 people dead. I covered it. It was a day ago, actually the same day that Iran issued the attack on Israel. Saudi Arabia's foreign minister has called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, stating that diplomatic relations with Israel will not be established without a clear plan for an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. That is new. So Saudi Arabia, who's supposed to be, together with Qatar, facilitating the talks between Israel and Hamas, is now saying, well, give us a 2-state solution with the capital of East Jerusalem, or we're not going to talk to you, diplomatically anymore. That's new. Now, October 2nd, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan spoke with the UAE President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. They discussed the outcomes of the UAE leader's recent visit to Washington and welcomed UAE designation as a major defense partner of the U.S. They reaffirmed their commitment to cooperation in artificial intelligence and regional issues, including the UAE's humanitarian efforts in Gaza. They addressed the situation in Lebanon, emphasizing the need for a diplomatic solution, and expressed concern over the escalating violence in Sudan, particularly regarding attacks on diplomatic facilities. They agreed to maintain close communication moving forward. So that was October 2nd. And then October 3rd is this, I think what countries try to do is they try to end it one way or another. Because an escalation in this region could be one thing that would probably be that World War III that we all fear. Given Iran and do they have nuclear capabilities? We don't know, right? But they do have Russia, who does. So nobody wants that to escalate. So probably that is a notion to make Israel or push Israel to have some sort of agreements. We'll see. Now, European Union, allocated 30 million euros in humanitarian aid to help those most in need in Lebanon, bringing total to over 100 million euros in 2024. So people have to evacuate, people have to leave their homes, and certainly they're trying to help. Now, we'll see how this will end. Now, on Ukraine, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin spoke today with the Ukrainian Minister of Defense, Umerov, regarding battlefield dynamics and security assistance. The leaders discussed the outcomes of President Biden's recent meeting with Zelensky in the United States and the upcoming Ramstein summit of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting that President Biden will host at the leader level. So President Biden is flying to Germany, and he will host the meeting in Ramstein. And the rumor is that's where Ukraine will get the green light to strike deep inside Russia. So the NATO has a new Secretary General, Mark Rutte, the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, who, as his very first trip, certainly chose Kiev as a destination. And so he met with Zelensky. So take a look.
That's what's happening.
Oh, hell no, go away.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Now, aside from those beautiful things, also they spoke. And this is the very first speech internationally speaking, of the new Secretary General of NATO. Take a look.
We are so committed to supporting Ukraine because your security matters for ours. And your fight for freedom reflects our core principles and values. NATO allies have provided Ukraine with unprecedented support since Russia launched its full-scale invasion in 2022, including more than 99% of all military aid. But we know that you need more. So allies agreed at the NATO summit in Washington this summer to make sure we could provide you with more equipment, more training, more support. We are setting up a NATO command to coordinate the provision of security assistance and training, helping to ensure that Ukraine has what it needs.
So, very clear language. As much as what we hear from Kamala Harris, right? We're with Ukraine. Ukraine needs to prevail, yada, yada, yada. Now, he is the one who revealed that in Ramstein he expects Ukraine get the green light. Now, remember, I showed a video of Russia using the father of all bombs on Vovchansk. That's a city in the Kharkiv region, where I'm from. And so this is before and after this. So you see the city on the top, and that's what remained. And so that's where they used this bomb. This is allegedly, from the reports, from what I hear, is that it's the strongest and most, the biggest bomb close to, that is non-nuclear. So the next level would be a nuclear attack. And that's some tanks, as you see here. So pretty much the city does no longer exist. Russia also, Politico has reported that Russia has paid people in Moldova. Moldova is, if you don't know, a country in Eastern Europe, a very important target for Putin. So Russia is paying people to vote against joining European Union. They do have a vote. It's ongoing, and so there, one Russian oligarch, Ilan Shor, has paid this campaign, and so Moldovan police revealed that more than $15 million was deposited into the accounts of around 130,000 Moldovans during September alone. This massive cash influx is part of what officials describe as a well-coordinated effort to influence the referendum's outcome. So, and I had this weird thought. I was like, why would you pay MAGA people, right? How many people would vote for Trump if they got, some cash for it? Scary tactic. So if they can't manipulate you for free, they'll pay you for it. Scary stuff. It was the city occupied? No, Ukraine recently won it over. Putin is pushing for a Samlos game at war. Yeah, and he's 46, older than me. Looks good for a guy in the mid-40s. Who? Rutte? Rutte is 46? Wait a second, who's 46? Zelensky might be 46. I don't think Rutte is 46. Who do you mean, Brandon? Tell us. But the stakes at World War III are bad for everyone under. Of course. Because we think about World War II, we didn't have nukes at that time. We didn't have nearly as many capabilities as we have now. Right? And also we have internet, so we know what everybody says and thinks. That's why I'm acting and reacting so aggressively when press tries to push Biden or, get some information and leak it. Because in World War II, what folks had radio, right? And they said, we know those infamous speeches, today, Germany invaded Poland. Right? We grew up in Eastern Europe. So we know those radio things, announcements. Those are very famous and infamous. Now, today, in this information, right, especially if the war is between Ukraine and Russia, same language, same everything. So it makes it even so difficult, right, to protect any type of information. So media has to know who they play for God's sake. So lastly, if you are celebrating Shana Tova to you. So, it's a new year, and I have mixed things. So I read October 11th is the Rosh Hashanah, but somehow people already are wishing Shana Tova. So I wish you a happy new year. I'm not sure if I have to wish you every day until I think October 13th. Educate me, okay? Because I read all about it and I'm like, huh. But here's second gentleman talking about the Jewish New Year. Take a look.
Rosh Hashanah is, I think for me, it's a time to reflect, not only on the past year, but what we hope to do in the coming year. The Vice President has encouraged me from day one to use this platform to speak up and speak out loudly against anti-Semitism for the millions of people who are no longer here and the millions of people who don't have this opportunity, and that's who she is as a leader. Let's never forget the joy that comes from being Jewish. Never forget your pride in being Jewish or in your Jewish identity. So it's great to be here. There's lots of food. Let's celebrate and have a great New Year's. Shana Tova.
So if you're the one celebrating, Happy New Year to you, and have a wonderful Happy New Year. From me, I have a good picture from Bryant Park in New York. It's my favorite park. Here we go. So this is my personal reminder to you to step outside. We still have some good days left before we dive into nasty fall. If you're on this side of the hemisphere, step outdoors, breathe some fresh air, look at some, flowers and trees, and just realize that aside from politics, aside from this news and the nonsense and noise, there is actual life, and our planet is beautiful, and life is actually also pretty good. Okay, so that's my personal suggestion to you, Callie. Beautiful. Yeah, it is. It's so freaking nice. Yeah, it's like, I wasn't there, but look at flowers and go get a puppy. Indeed, I'm allergic, but get two, right? Get one for me too. Thanks for sharing your news again. We enjoy your covers. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. And I'm sorry for keeping you guys up late. I will do better tomorrow. I do promise. And now for newsletters, I'm going to send them around 5 p.m. because statistically it proves to be the right thing to do. So if you're not subscribed, again, please subscribe. If you support, thank you so much. But please join our actual news movement. It really will keep you more sane than you think. Will save your time and save your nerves. And that's really my love language, is truthful information. So please join us and then decide for yourself. Okay. So have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining me. And we see each other tomorrow, and we round up the week together. All right. Have a good night.